Hello everyone, I hope you are doing good wherever you are. Welcome back to our channel, and today I'm going to be sharing with you about the types of business organizations. In my previous video, I shared with you about the enterprise, growth, as well as size, and I guess you still remember those areas. Let us see what this topic has for us. So on this topic, you need to understand the following: the main features of different forms of business organizations. And these ones here, they fall under the private sector. They include the sole traders, the partnership, the private and the public companies, franchises, and joint ventures. You need to also understand the differences between the unincorporated businesses and the limited companies, and also the concepts of risk, ownership, and limited liability. And you need also to recommend and justify a suitable form of business organization to the owners or management in a given situation. And lastly, you need to know the business organizations in the public sector, which includes the public corporations. All right, let us go on and talk about first part. So the main features. In this case, you need to understand what you mean by the term unincorporated businesses. These ones are businesses that does not have a separate legal identity or personality from its owners. Meaning to say, if the business is sued, the owner is held responsible and may need to cover the cost with their own personal money. So in the eyes of the law, the business and its owner are viewed as a single entity, single legal entity. So what the business does will also affect the owner. Then we have what we call the incorporated businesses. These ones, they have a separate legal identity or personality from its owner or owners. Meaning to say, if the business goes bankrupt, the owners will not be held responsible and only lose the amount they invested to buy shares, for example, in that particular business. So in this case, the business is going to be treated as a separate entity from its owners. All right, that's what we mean by the term incorporated business. And next part, let's talk about business liability. So liability is all about who is going to be held liable for the business debts. So some businesses like the sole trader and the partnership, they have what you call the unlimited liability. In this case, we mean what exactly? The owners are held liable for the business if the business goes in debt, and the owners need to pay back with their own money. So in this case here, the owners, they have a risk of losing their personal possessions to pay for the business debts if it fails to pay them on its own. Then we have what we call the limited liability, and only the companies have such. All right, in this case here, we are saying that the owners are not going to be held liable for the business debts, and hence the owners will not risk losing their personal possessions, but only the amounts they have invested in that particular business organization. All right, and the next part, let's now talk about the forms of businesses that we have. So let us first talk about the ones which fall under the private sector, the ones which are owned by individuals or private businesses. And the first one here, we have what we call the sole trader. So a sole trader business is simply a business which is owned and run or operated by one person known as a sole proprietor. That's what you mean by the sole trader business. So this owner or this business setup is very easy and simple to form, as there are fewer legal requirements. And also it has unlimited liability, and is also part of the unincorporated businesses. So benefits of you operating as an individual or as a sole proprietor, what are they? First one here, it is very much cheap and easy to start up because you simply use your own investments and you don't need to have more capital to open such a business. And there are also fewer legal requirements, and that makes it cheap and easy to start up. And also, since you're the only person owning and running the business, you have full control over your own business. Meaning to say all the decisions to be made in this business, they all come from you. You don't need to take much time to make decisions, to consult other people around you or the co-owners. Why? Because it's your own business. You make your own decisions. But however, along the way, you're going to experience what you call the unlimited liability, meaning to say you are going to risk losing your personal possessions if the business fails to pay its liabilities. You as the owner, you're going to be held liable for all the business debts. So it's risky. And also, if the owner dies, the business no longer exists, meaning to say the owner will die with his or her ideas. There is no continuity when it comes to a sole trader business. When you die, the business dies with you. So that is a drawback. And also, there is less money, or simply it's difficult to expand the business. Why? Normally, sole traders, they rely on their own personal funds to help grow the business. Or they may borrow family or friends, or they may go on to acquire some loans from the banks, but the loans will not be that much huge because you don't have much assets that can be used as security. So there is less money available to grow your business in such a case. Secondly, we have what we call a partnership. Partnership is also part of the unincorporated businesses. And also, partnership, it means that it's a business which is owned and run by two or more people. All right, two or more people. So these two people, they agree to join and own the business together, meaning to say they share their resources, they share their ideas, they share their skills, they both contribute towards the capital of the business. That's how a partnership works. And normally, the maximum limit of such an entity is 20 people. So it's between 2 to 20 people who own and run the partnership business. So partnership or partners, they use two documents to operate. They either use what you call a partnership agreement or a partnership deed when it comes to running the partnership business. So a partnership agreement is the one which all or both the partners do agree when it comes to the interest rates, the share of profits, etc. But partnership deed is already in existence. It has been set by the law. You simply take it and adopt it as a partnership business. So everything to do with the interest on loans, the share of profits, etc., it has already been stated in that partnership deed. All right, so benefits of you operating as a partnership. What are they? First one here, the owners, they both contribute towards the business capital. So there is more capital available as compared to a sole trader where it's only you as a sole proprietor contributing towards the capital. And also there is less work. Why? Because it's the two of you now performing the tasks. So you share the load. The burden becomes easier for you both to handle as partners. And also the losses, they're going to be distributed among the two owners, meaning to say you share losses as well as partners, not only you as a sole trader, for example, going to be responsible for all the losses. So it's a benefit when it comes to the partners. And also, there are some drawbacks which comes through from you being in a partnership business. Just like a sole trader business, you are also going to have what you call unlimited liability, meaning to say the partners are going to be held liable for the business debts, and they risk losing their personal positions if the business fall into some debts. So that is also a drawback. And also, there is no continuity, just like a sole trader, meaning to say if one owner or partner dies or quits, that means the partnership business no longer legally exists. You need to form a new partnership with the available live partners. And lastly, conflicts are inevitable when it comes to you working together as partners. So disagreements, sometimes they can be destructive, sometimes they can be constructive, but if they are destructive, that means you may end up fighting in the business and there is no production happening. You're going to reduce yourselves because you are fighting and disagreeing over the decisions that affects the partnership business. All right, then next form of ownership, let's talk about companies. So companies, they come in two. We have what you call the private limited company and the public limited company. All companies are owned by shareholders, and shareholders appoint the directors to run the business on their behalf. And the shareholders, they receive what you call dividends as returns for their investments they have made in their business. So more about this is talked about in accounting, but here we just talk about it a bit. All right, so when you are a private limited company, yes, all companies are owned by shareholders, but your shares that you're going to issue as the private limited company are only going to be issued out to the family and friends, not to the public. So let's talk about the benefits of you being a private limited company. Number one, the liability is limited to all shareholders, meaning to say you are not going to be held liable for the business debts. So you do not have the risk of losing your personal possessions if the business falls into some debts. And secondly, many shareholders are going to be attracted from family and friends, meaning to say more capital is going to be invested, unlike when you're operating as a sole trader or a partnership where the capital is a bit limited. And thirdly, we talk about it being cheaper to set up than public companies. So in this case here, there are fewer legal requirements as compared to the public company. So it's a bit cheaper. And also there is continuity of existence, meaning to say if the business owner dies, the business will still exist. So there is continuity. The name will remain the same. You may only change the membership, but the business will continue to exist even after the owner dies. Unlike the sole trader and the partnership where there is no continuity. But however, it's slower to start up because the legal requirements that needs to be signed are a bit more than the sole trader and the partnership. And secondly, the shares can only be sold to family and friends. So the capital tends to be limited as compared to the public limited company. And also, remember, conflicts are inevitable. So shareholders, they need to agree before shares can be sold. And of course, you may disagree here and there, which may lead to some in-house fighting. All that can affect the business performance for you to agree. Unlike a sole trader who makes their own decisions and pass them without consulting anyone, here you need to agree as the existing shareholders before you issue out any share. Right, then secondly, we have what we call the public limited company. Remember, all companies are owned by shareholders. So it's similar to the private company. But now in this case, shares are not sold to family and friends, but rather to the general public. Everyone who is willing to buy shares in this company is free to do that. So it is great for large companies. Benefits now of you operating as the public company, what are they? Remember also, just like the private, the public also, the owners have the limited liability. Their liability is limited to the amounts they've invested in the company and nothing else. So they will not risk losing their personal possessions. And also, the shares can be sold to the general public without permission, meaning to say more capital or money can be raised quickly, unlike a sole trader, which relies mostly on their personal funds, or a partnership which relies mostly on what the partner has contributed towards the capital. Here, everyone is free to contribute. And also, there is continuity, meaning to say what? Even if one of the shareholders dies, the business will continue to operate even in the foreseeable future. And lastly, company can grow and expand quickly. Why? Because there is more capital available to enable you to grow and expand, to hire more employees, to open more branches, to market your goods internationally. You can go on to do all that because the capital available allows you to do so. However, there are some drawbacks. In this case here, there are more legal requirements. The documents that you need to comply with, or the laws to be complied with, there are a lot. You need to sign more papers before you start operating the business. The certificate of incorporation, certificate of competence, etc., etc. Unlike a sole trader, which is very much cheap and has fewer legal requirements. So all this leads to a wastage of money and time. And secondly, it's expensive to start up. You need to have some funds available to enable you to operate, unlike a sole trader. And also, the company can grow large very quickly, and that also leads to what you call the diseconomies of scale, whereby it will be difficult for you to control every department, every branch, and the business may fail at the end. And also, next one here, the original owners of the business may lose control of the company. Meaning to say what? You may end up not knowing what's happening in each and every department. You will lose the personal contact with your customers, with your employees, with the managers, because the business is now big, is now large for you to go on to control all the areas. And also, The shareholders may vote who manages the business in the AGM, the annual general meeting, meaning to say they will not be having much control over who runs the business on their behalf. So these are the drawbacks of you running as a public limited company. So what do you mean by AGM? AGM is simply an annual general meeting. Annual meaning to say yearly. So you are supposed to meet every year as shareholders to vote for the next company's directors, next year's company's directors. So after every financial year, you meet and then you do the voting. And who are the shareholders? They're simply the owners of a limited company. And for you to become a shareholder, you must buy shares in a company. And what are shares? Shares are simply the percentage of ownership in a company. And that's what makes you to become a shareholder. And you receive dividends for every share that you have bought in a company. All right. Then here is a summary of all the areas that we have talked about so far: the sole proprietor or sole trader, the partnerships, the private limited company, the public limited company. So I encourage you to go through this summary and learn more from it. And then next area, let's talk about franchises. Franchises is also another form of business ownership in which the owner of an idea or the business idea can go on to sell it or give rights to another person to operate under their name or their brand. And that person who sells their idea is known as the franchisor. And the one who buys the idea is known as the franchisee. So we are going to talk about both the franchisor and the franchisee on this area now. All right, so let's start first by talking about the franchisor. What do you mean by franchisor? Franchisor is a company that owns the original business or the business idea. So they are the ones who sell their rights or sell their ingredients to the franchisee. So what benefits do you generate by you operating as a franchisor? Number one, you are able to make money from selling the business name to the franchisee. So those people who come to buy your name, buy your ingredients and operate under your name, they're going to pay. And that's all revenue coming into your pocket. And next thing here is very much good for growth, both can grow quickly as a brand. For example, we can talk about KFC, Nando's. Those are popular franchise businesses that we can talk about. They are found in a number of countries and they've grown through franchise. So that's also one benefit. You can also expand your name quickly without you going to invest in all those countries. And also, operation of the business is the franchisee responsibility. So the more the franchisees come through to buy your name, business name, the more the business grows. But if there are fewer franchisees coming to buy your business name, then you're going to be limited when it comes to the growth of your business name. So if there are more, that is very much good. You're going to grow quickly as a business. But however, if one franchise business has a bad reputation, that will lead to negative effects on the entire franchise business. For example, if one McDonald's store serves bad food, then all other McDonald's stores will have a bad reputation because customers will assume that all other stores are selling bad food. So that is not good at all. And also, the profit from franchise stores are kept by the franchisee. Meaning to say, you as the franchisor, you only get a fee or a payment that you have agreed upon. And all other profits that belong to who? The franchisee. You see, so that is a drawback when it comes to the franchisor. They will not get all the profits made by the franchisee in their respective operations. All right, let's talk about the second part of the franchise business, the one known as the franchisee, meaning to say the person who buys the business name from the franchisor. They buy the rights to use their name. All right, so benefits are also there for such a person. Less chances of failure. Why? Because the business is well known. You know, for you to start operating a business as KFC or as Nando's, you are going to attract more customers than for you to use your own name, which is not popular. Fewer customers are going to be attracted to your business if you use your own name because they don't know about your name. They don't trust new brands, but popular brands are worthy to be trusted because of their reputation. And secondly, most of the advertisements are paid for by the franchisor. So you as the franchisee, you simply enjoy the benefits of customers coming to buy your products at the expense of the franchisor. Thirdly, less decision-making is required from the franchisee. Why? Because the food recipes are already planned for by the franchisor. So you simply go on to buy the recipes, or they can provide you with the recipes, and you simply produce accordingly. So you don't need to keep on improving or changing some recipes, as they will not be in line with the other franchise business. So less decision-making is going to be required from you as the franchisee. And also, the franchisor is available to train all your employees if you decide to buy their name. So that is also a benefit. But however, franchisee, they will not be able to make their own decisions. Meaning to say, you cannot wake up tomorrow and start your own menu under someone's name. That is illegal. And also the franchise needs to pay the franchisor to use brand name. So remember, it can be every month, it can be after 6 months or yearly, it depends with your agreement with the franchisor. You need to pay them constantly for using their brand name out of your profits. So your profits are going to be deducted by you paying the franchisor for using their name. So it's a drawback on your part as the franchisee. Then we have what we call the joint ventures. Joint ventures, let's talk about, it's all about the two already existing businesses, which starts a new project together. For example, Google Earth is a joint venture or a project for who? Between the Google and the NASA. They're the ones who came together and started Google Earth. So there are benefits that can be derived from operating as a joint venture. Just like a partnership, some of these points are similar to it. Number one, costs can be shared amongst the companies, so they both contribute or share the costs available for them to see that project becoming viable. And secondly, knowledge and skills from more than one company are going to be available. Like in this case here, Google as well as NASA, they both contribute towards that particular project when it comes to sharing of knowledge and skills. And also, you are going to attract a greater market share if you decide to operate as two popular businesses. And also, the risks are going to be shared as well in the case of the project failing. So these are all benefits. Unlike when you are the only one who is running that project, you suffer all the risks alone, but here you share. But however, profits are going to be shared, and no business actually would enjoy sharing profits with another. So that is also a drawback. And also, these are two already existing businesses with their different cultures and different leadership styles. So when they decide to run one project together, they may experience some conflicts here and there when it comes to which style of leadership or which culture is the best to have when operating such a project. So conflicts are inevitable, but they may not be healthy to an extent. So disagreements towards that may affect the operations of the project. And lastly, let's talk about the public sector corporations. We have talked about all the businesses which are owned and run by individuals, which fall under the private sector. And now let's talk about the public sector, where we talk about all the businesses owned and run by the government. All right, the government may appoint directors to run the businesses on their behalf if they are a parastatal. So services such as water supply, electricity supply, the health services, etc., they are all provided mostly by the public sector corporations. For example, in the UK, the government provides subsidies or grants to the National Health Service to improve the healthcare of its people. So public corporations, what exactly is their aim? Number one, their first aim there is to keep the prices lower so that every citizen can afford their services. Secondly, they are meant to create jobs for their people so that everyone or all the people who are willing and able to work can secure employment or a job in their country. And they also offer a service to the public everywhere, regardless of your level of income, your race, or whatsoever basis of discrimination. They are able to provide such a service. And benefits of you operating as a public sector corporation. There are some businesses which are considered to be too important to be owned by an individual. For example, water, airline, electricity, such areas, normally it is the government which provides such services. And also, there are some businesses which are generally considered as natural monopolies, and they're controlled by the government. And also, they include water supply, electricity supply, etc. So such businesses, it's only the government which may have power to run them and operate them in a country. And also, it reduces the waste in an industry. For example, if there are two railway lines in one city, it may go on to contribute towards a lot of waste. But if the government is the one operating such, then there is a reduction of smoke, congestion, etc. And also, some businesses, they are good enough for rescuing other businesses which might be falling. through what we call nationalization. So such businesses may be only owned by the government, especially those businesses which contribute towards the economic growth or which employ a number of people in a country. Such businesses may end up being owned by the government. And lastly, these businesses, they provide essential services to the people, and only the government can provide such at a lower price, unlike when they're owned by the individuals or private sector businesses, which tends to charge higher prices. And that may lead to the citizens not being able to afford such products. But however, there are some drawbacks which come through with this. The first one, motivation might not be as high because profit is not an objective. So the quality of their products tends to be lower. The service rendering tends to be poor, unlike the private sector businesses. Secondly, subsidies lead to inefficiency. Why? It is also considered unfair for private businesses. So the governments provide subsidies, the financial aid, to mostly the public sector business, which contribute towards the economic growth. But very few private businesses receive such. And the moment a business receives these subsidies constantly, they're going to be inefficient because they know that the government is going to provide funds for us, and they will not have that drive to keep on producing quality products with less wastages. And there is normally no competition to public corporations. Hence, there is no incentive to improve. Their drive to work is minimal. The employees themselves do not actually perform the activities well because there is no drive for them to work. So competition brings forth an improvement in quality of the product or the service being rendered, and also the price. As much as it is lower, the services, they also need to improve. And lastly, the businesses could be run for government popularity, mostly during the time for elections. Those businesses can be used as a tool to push for the ruling party's agenda. So that can also be not good for the whole country. All right, thank you very much for listening to this video, and I hope you're going to learn more as well in my future videos. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. And if you have any question or maybe any point that you want to share with me, feel free to send me an email on my email address, which is below. All right, I'll see you in my next video. Have a lovely day. Ciao.